So let me give you a couple of the highlights or lowlights, depending on your view of Michael Cohen on the stand today. He was asked by Todd Blanche if during his conversations with a guy named Robert Costello, and some are speculating that the defense has already said they're going to call one witness on when it's time to present their case, that it may be this guy Costello, who was allegedly a go-between between Michael Cohen and Rudy Giuliani / President Trump, the sitting President Trump. And that Costello allegedly said to Cohen, you got friends in high places, fear not, you're good. Kind of like wink, nod, all's well, don't flip on Trump. But he was brought into the grand jury and he was very helpful to Donald Trump, though not helpful enough because he did get indicted. And he seems to be very favorable towards President Trump and not so much towards Michael Cohen. And so why was Cohen asked about this man by the defense attorney? Well, here it is. Todd Blanche asked Michael Cohen if during Cohen's conversations with this guy Costello, after the raids, I assume this is on Mar-a-Lago, that he told him he could cooperate against Trump. Whether Costello said, you could cooperate against Trump. And that Cohen, in turn, said to Costello, in other words, this is the questioning by the defense lawyer, did you tell Robert Costello that you, quote, had nothing on President Trump and could not cooperate? Answer, no. Then Todd Blanche asked Cohen if he meant, no, I didn't say that to Costello, or no, you don't recall whether you said that. Cohen, I don't recall. So, all right, I see why the defense went there. You told this guy you had nothing on Trump, and now that you're trying to get out of prison, you want to get out of all these deals, you want to look better, suddenly you have all sorts of dirt on the man. And that brings me to the next line, which was supervised release, which I gather Cohen is on right now. Cohen said he tried 3 times to get his supervised release, from prison terminated. And then Blanche pressed him and corrected him and said, in fact, it's been 4 failed attempts. And Michael Cohen had to admit that. On the subject of working in the White House, which has been an ongoing thing, you wanted to work in the White House, you got stiff-armed, Trump didn't want you, you're bitter. He tried to say, no, I just wanted my name out there as possible chief of staff shortlist for ego purposes. He said this earlier in the week. He reiterated it again today. Keith Davidson, the one-time lawyer for Stormy Daniels, said, well, Cohen told me he wanted to be attorney general and that he was suicidal when he wasn't chosen. I know all of our hearts just skipped a beat at the thought of Michael Cohen as the attorney general of the United States, but okay. All right, we'll calm down and go back to what he testified to today, which was that there was definitely talk about being chief of staff. There were texts between Cohen and his daughter where they discussed whether he would be chief of staff. Cohen's daughter said she read that Reince Priebus was being considered, and Michael Cohen responded, he's pushing like a madman. And that when Trump did in fact pick Reince Priebus, Blanche asked Cohen whether it's true. Cohen told his daughter he was disappointed. Cohen, that I wasn't considered. Yes, sir. And then he acknowledged that he told his daughter that Trump just wasn't happy with the title I wanted. Last but not least, or perhaps it is least, because I've been talking about this story like a Greek tragedy, guys, where he's got this never-ending adulation for this man he adored and read his book twice and just wanted any sort of place in Trump's circle, wanted to be just like him. And then, of course, it ends in him trying to kill the king and kind of take himself out as well. And the king turns on him, too. He couldn't even get tickets to the inauguration. Michael Cohen admits via these texts he was having real difficulty even getting tickets to Trump's inauguration in 2017. Unbelievable. And he also admitted that, he was at least asked about the fact that he was allegedly despondent when the former president of Goldman Sachs got a post in the White House, and Michael Cohen did not. All of this, Dave Aronberg is trying to paint the picture of bitterness. He's a bitter liar pretty effectively. Am I wrong?
I think today Todd Blanche has had a pretty good day. I think he was successful in punching holes in Michael Cohen. I thought it was actually very powerful, a different part of the cross-examination where he had Cohen admit that his testimony in front of the judge was a lie when it comes to his tax cases. Remember, he went before the judge in the civil fraud case and said, I lied to the federal judge about my tax case. And that had nothing to do with Donald Trump. And he went back and said, yeah, that original federal judge was corrupt. He was in cahoots with prosecutors. So I don't think that made Michael Cohen look good. And he had to admit to lying on the stand. So that's not good. But here's the thing, Megyn. If this were all about Michael Cohen's cross-examination and pointing out his lies, then yes, I think the state would be in a lot of trouble. But the state has spent all of its time building this firewall around Cohen with all these witnesses and documents. And a lot of it is even Trump's own words, his tweets, his admissions in a court proceeding in California. And all this stuff has come into play to buttress what Michael Cohen has been saying. So you may not like Michael Cohen, and you may think he is a liar. But is everyone lying? The corroboration that the state has spent so much time with, I think, helps prove
Let me
their
ask you
case.
this, though, Dave, and I'll go to Andy. Corroboration of what specifically?
Corroboration that Trump was involved from the beginning in the hush money scheme. And by the way, I know what you're going to say. Hush money schemes are not illegal. Correct. But it's telling the story about why the catch and kill scheme was established. And then the big issue, and it was made an issue by Todd Blanche in his opening statement, was whether or not the $420,000 reimbursement to Cohen was a reimbursement for the hush money payments, or was it legal fees? And Todd Blanche said in his opening statement that this was not a reimbursement. Maybe Andy could help me with this, but I don't know why he said that. I don't know why he made that to be such a big issue, because all the evidence shows that it was a reimbursement. And so there is no direct evidence that I've seen that ties Donald Trump directly to the falsification of the business records, which is the underlying misdemeanor. But once you put into play that this is legal fees and not a reimbursement, if the state can show, yeah, it's a reimbursement, which I think they have shown, then it's a small step from there to proving that Donald Trump lied on the forms when he listed this stuff, his company listed it as legal fees and not as reimbursements.
By the way, it's legal expenses, which I do think is better for Trump than legal fees, legal expenses. I mean, it's amazing to me, Andy, that we are now at a felony trial for a former president of the United States, we've never indicted our former president over the difference between legal expenses and reimbursement to my lawyer. That's literally what the case is boiling down to. This is insane. Your thoughts?
Well, a part of it is that it's not as clean as all that, right? The more evidence comes out, you can't, what he was paid for had to do with a variety of things, of which the payment to Stormy Daniels was a component, but was not all of it. So it's not like, the $35,000 a month traces to more than the Stormy repayment. So that's not as clean as it looks. Calling the arrangement a retainer is not clean. They've tried to turn that into something that's incriminating. The more evidence that comes out, the more what you hear is, it was agreed that Cohen could represent himself as Trump's private lawyer while he was president in 2017. Oh, and it turns out that he actually did do some work for him in 2017 and 2018. We all know a retainer agreement. There are different kinds of them, but one kind that you can have is you pay somebody for their availability, not necessarily that there is a project, but you want the lawyer to be available. The retainer does not have to be in writing. It absolutely should be in writing, but it doesn't have to be in writing. And one component of what they paid him for was a bonus. So, Cohen has three different things. He's got the Stormy Daniels NDA, the non-disclosure agreement. He's got this $50,000 he apparently laid out for some kind of digital assistance to spin polling favorable to Trump. And then the last piece of it is what they call a bonus. And the fact that Cohen may have decided that the bonus was for work well done in the past doesn't mean that the Trump organization couldn't have decided that it was part of keeping the relationship going in the future. The only reason I lay all that out is, to say it's problematic that they characterized this or described it as a retainer under circumstances where it's monthly payments to a guy who is currently holding himself out as Trump's private lawyer and is actually doing work for Trump and is available to do to work for Trump at any point. To say that it's like the fraud of the century, to call that a retainer arrangement, is strange to me. And then let me just address one thing that Dave mentioned, because this is very important. I think this weaving this wall of corroboration around Cohen is a very important thing for the prosecutors to have done. But I also think it's illusory, because the corroboration, as Dave points out, is mainly for stuff that technically speaking is legal, even if some of the way the Trump defense is trying the case would suggest you to think that they think it's radioactive and they need to distance Trump from it. But there's one crucially important piece of evidence on which Cohen is the only witness, and that is there's a January 2017 meeting that Cohen has testified about between or among him, Alan Weisselberg, and Trump, in which Cohen alleges that Weisselberg described how this arrangement was going to be booked. And Trump was present, and according to Cohen, understood what Weisselberg was saying and conveyed his assent somehow. That is the only piece of evidence in the case that ties Trump to the way this was going to be booked in the Trump records.
Do you owe back taxes? Pandemic relief is now over. Along with hiring thousands of new agents and field officers, the IRS has kicked off 2024 by sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. Don't waive your rights and speak with them on your own. Tax Network USA, a trusted tax relief firm, has saved over $1 billion in back taxes for their clients, and they can help you secure the best deal possible. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can help you. Whether it's business or personal taxes, even if you have the means to pay or if you're on a fixed income, they can help finally resolve your tax burdens once and for all. Call 1-800-245-6000 for a private, free consultation, or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.